Good morning. Thank you everybody for joining. My name is Tian. I'm from PaySpace and I'm one of the new business developers. And I'm here to tell you more about our company and our platform that we use. Okay, so just to give a bit of structure to the webinar, is I'm going to start off with a presentation, just giving you a high-level overview of our organization. And then after that, I'll be going into the live platform, showing you the employee self-service, manager self-service areas, and then also go into the administrative side of things to show you how to physically process on our system as well. Okay, so the first important thing to know about PaySpace is that we're a 100% cloud-based solution. And the advantage of that being that you have access to the system anytime, anywhere. The only requirement is that you have a browser and an internet connection. The other important thing about being cloud is the fact that we maintain the solution. So not only from an enhancement or feature perspective, but also from a compliance perspective. So anytime anything changes in the legislative framework, we will then update that into the solution, and you're always on the latest and greatest version of it. The images that you currently see there is what you can typically expect when logging onto different devices and viewing your employee self-service portal. Just quickly, PaySpace on a timeline. So we started back in 2001, and currently in 2019, we are on 40 African countries where we've got full built-in legislation. I think just another important timestamp there is 2016, where we obtained our ISO 27001 certification. We are the only payroll vendor in Africa with that ISO certificate, and that just deals with the protection of personal information. So we wanted to get ourselves in line with international standards when it comes to data protection. So the ISO certificate looks at things like data recovery protocols, it looks at your encryption technology, firewall technology, and it even looks at our employees, and we need to undergo regular security awareness training as well. There you can see our current footprint. So there is all the countries that we've currently got live with full legislative delivery. That means built-in tax tables, built-in statutory reports in the correct formats and populated. And we're also going to be adding 3 more countries this year, which is Egypt, Morocco, and Seychelles. And then after that, we'll be expanding more internationally. And one of the first countries we're going to be taking then just after we've done the countries that I just mentioned would be Brazil. PaySpace awards over the year, I think the more relevant ones is the two that the recognition that we got in 2019, where we made the top 25 HR software providers for the year a list. And then also we won the Payroll Software Supplier of the Year award at the GPAs in Budapest as well. So that was quite a big achievement for us as well. Then why us? So we've already referenced 100% cloud-based. We've talked about ISO, but besides the ISO certification, we're also GDPR compliant, POPI compliant. At the moment, our server is hosted at Vodacom Business in Midrand, which is also an ISO certified facility, underground, bunker-proof, limited fingerprint access control, and also has the full data recovery protocols in place. We've got a separate site down in Cape Town where we back up to the information every 15 minutes. So should anything happen, we'd follow our disaster recovery protocol and you'd have access to information within 4 to 8 hours. Multi-country, multi-currency. So that just references the 40 countries. Multi-currency is the ability to manage the exchange rate in the system. And multi-language is there's currently 6 language options when going into employee and manager self-service. So those language options are English, Afrikaans, Zulu, French, Portuguese, and Polish. And we're going to be adding more and more languages as we go along. Expatriate management. So we've built in a expatriate module into the solution, which facilitates multiple component gross ups, home host currency scenarios, tax equalizations. And that is also one of the main reasons that some of the big auditing firms use our platform in Africa, because we've automated that process. International compliance. So like I mentioned, all the tax tables and statutory reports in the correct format. Automatic legislative feature updates we've also mentioned. Employee manager self-service, I'll deal more, but it's just a platform that allows an employee to gain access to his personal information, update that information, and get access to what they need when they need it. Intelligent workflows and guidance talks more to the administrative side of the solution. So whenever you're processing or doing anything in the solution, you'll be driven through a specific workflow to ensure that you capture all the relevant information in the correct fashion and that the process is complete. No backup process is required because it's cloud-based. Seamless edition upgrades is we've got free editions that you can elect. So we've got a Lite, Premier, and a Master. Each of them different depending on the feature requirement that you need. But whichever one you choose, you can always upgrade to another one. So if you start off on Premier and then you realize, listen, I need something urgently on Master, it's a click of a button and we upgrade you. So we just expose more of the features in the application to you. So besides the different editions, there's also advanced HR modules that you can add to the solution as and when you require them. Those HR modules is performance management, recruitment, cloud analytics, workforce planning, and org chart. Okay, great. Then we work on a pay-as-you-go type model. So you only pay for what you use in an application and you save on your infrastructure, and there's also no annual license fees. Anywhere, anytime access we've also covered. And then API integration just references the ability to integrate into third-party applications. So whether it be your biometric system, your ERP system, or you're pulling information into your accounting solution. So we've gone on a big drive to actually future-proof ourselves and our customers for the next 10 to 15 years. So we've upgraded our technology stack to the latest and greatest that is available. We are also in process of migrating to Microsoft Azure to address things like scalability, agility, global reach, disaster recovery, and even more enhanced security aspects as well. Information security framework, I'm not going to go into too much detail there. Just important to note, there's the 4 pillars there, which is availability, architecture, confidentiality, and integrity. Important under availability is just the 99.98% uptime. Under architecture, I think important to note is just the built-in audit trails. So that deals more when you've got multiple administrators accessing the system and being able to see what they've changed in the solution. Confidentiality, we've mentioned ISO, we've mentioned POPI and GDPR. Just another security layer that you could add is also two-factor authentications. Integrity is just the fact that we haven't had any incidences since our inception. This references just the API integration. So what I was saying, where you have the ability to either push information into PaySpace or pull information out. So those are the typical touch points that you can look towards when looking at integration capabilities. Our compliance network, I mean, that's our real strong suit. So we don't make just use of one source when it comes to the authentication and compliance. So we've got our own internal compliance team. They do their own independent research and keep abreast of any changes in the legislative framework. We also make use of Central African auditing firms like your BDO, EY, Deloitte. We use in-country partners, regional advisory firms, and then, like I mentioned, also the auditing firms that use the application. So when anything changes in the legislative framework, we'll run it through these different channels. First off, to ensure that we are interpreting the information correctly. And then secondly, once we've reached a consensus, that's when we'll launch it into the solution. The next couple of slides is just to show you a quick illustration of what the advanced HR modules would look like. So the first one here is the Cloud Analytics dashboard. This is the Business Intelligence module. So when you purchase a user license for this module, you'll have all these tabs pre-set up. So you'll have payroll, employee details, workforce, equity, performance if you use it, leave, costing, training, disciplinary. And then as you navigate to the different tabs, you've got the ability to go and select different years, different months, and then different options. And as you select, it will then update your information based on your selection. And that will then either be displayed in a pie chart or a bar graph or whatever else you start using. And you're also able to export that information into an Excel format as well. The org chart module gives you a visual representation of your organizational structure. So as an administrator of this module, you'll be able to decide, do I want male and female blocks to be different colors? What information do I want to display per block? How many blocks do I want per page? And once you've done all your setup, you can then basically share this information with as many people as you'd like in different formats as well. So you could potentially have a link in the employee self-service portal that an employee can access to go and see who's who in the organization and where they fit in. The workforce planning module gives you the ability to actually plan and look at your budget. So you can decide what your budget period is. You can go and create jobs. And on those jobs, you can actually allow or assign your payroll components to the jobs to get to a cost. So what would it cost when I've actually filled that specific position? And then if you've got your forecasted figure, so if all the jobs are filled, what would it actually cost the organization? And then start taking snapshots during the year to go and compare your actual versus your forecast figures. What has been the movement from a financial as well as from an employee perspective? The performance management module is also a very configurable module in the application. So first off, you've got the ability to go and define as many process types as you'd like. So it doesn't necessarily just have to be an evaluation process. It could be an onboarding and exit, an internal survey that you're running. And the reason for that is you've got the ability to go and configure the template structures. So you can say what your headers, subheaders, what type of questions you want to ask, what type of scales you want to use, and then associate that template to a process that you can launch as often as you'd like. Okay. What you can also do is you can have an HR-defined template or an employee manager-defined one. The HR-defined is the more traditional route where you've got your performance areas with your KPIs underneath that. And then a trend that we're seeing more often now is where you've got the employee manager-defined structure. So your performance areas are still defined by the company, but now the KPIs is a collaboration between the employee and the manager, and they can then decide on how they should be rated. You can also have multiple raters associated to these processes, so you can follow your 360 rating approach as well. The last elective module is just the recruitment module. So on this module, you'll be able to go and have a landing page where people can read more about your organization, read employee testimonials, perks listings, and then it will have a listing of all the available vacancies. When a candidate clicks on the vacancy, you'll be able to read more about that specific job and its roles and responsibilities. When he clicks on apply, you'd be able to go and determine what the qualifying questions are. And if a person doesn't meet the prerequisites of that position, you can have an automated rejection email also fire out. You can also go and set up your recruitment stages per vacancy. So managers might have 7 stages and lower tiered employees might only have 2 stages. And then automate what happens in each stage. So when I move a candidate from stage 1 to stage 2, what should it automatically trigger? Should it send out an email? Should it send out a scorecard? Should we book this person for a second interview? What should happen? And in this fashion, you can then automate your entire hiring process. And that concludes the slideshow portion of the webinar. I'm going to now log into the employee self-service portal. So to log in, you'd navigate to payspace.com and click on client login over there. And then use your email address to gain access. What you can also do is you can associate an image to your company profile. And then when a person types in his email address, that it will then flag it and bring up the image in the back end over there. You'll have your password, and if you've activated multi-factor authentication, the system will then also prompt you for a one-time PIN. So here you can see the employee self-service dashboard on a desktop. So just to show you the other devices that you can actually access it from. So whether you're working from your iPad or your smartphone, it doesn't matter. It will render it according to the screen size of the device that you are using. Just some basic navigation on this portal. So you'll have your PaySpace icon there in the left top hand corner. Whenever you click on that, it will take you back to this main screen over here where you've got your menu bar on the left hand side and your widgets on screen to navigate and to easily process on this platform. So your menu bar here on the left, you can use to navigate and go and update your information or gain access to specific information. And within this, we view it as roles. So employee self-service would be a specific role, and you can then assign security aspects to that role. So you might want the employee to go and update his address details, but not be able to edit his first name or last name. So that's also the type of settings that you can do. So you can either have a field that a person can edit, or he can only view it or not view it at all. So then the employee can navigate and go and update whatever information he needs to. So that's just on the basic, on the menu bar over there. If you don't want to use that, you can also collapse the menu bar and then just use the widgets to navigate. This search box over here allows you access to your employee directory. So you can start searching for employees. So as you type, it will bring up related searches. Click on the person, and that will then show you his corporate profile information. So nothing sensitive, just his company related stuff. So email address, maybe his birth date, company information, who his manager is, and subordinates. Okay. This button over here is the manager self-service functionality. So as a manager, you'd be able to go and process certain things on behalf of employees. So when you click on that, you'll be able to see people directly reporting to you or their subordinates, access their profile, and then once again, based on the security that's been set up, process either claims, apply for leave, download the payslip for them, or whatever else you might need to do as a manager for that employee. Just back on my main screen, you can also change the theme setting colors. So this banner image color at the top, you can change to different colors. You can also upload a banner image over there, and then also have employees or the company update the employee profile photo there. The first widget that you see there is your inbox. So this drives all the workflow items in the organization. So people applying for leave, processing claims, launching a performance evaluation, everything will be sent to the inbox, but there will also be sent an email notification. So once I've received my notification, I can go in and I can actually go and see the application that's been sent through by the employee. So I can see Brenda is applied for 0.25 days. It's annual leave she's applying for. I can see the start date and the end date, what the person's balance is before this leave is approved, what is going to be after it's approved. I can also view any attachments associated to this application. So especially if it's family responsibility or sick leave, I can actually go and view that. And it will also show if there's any public holidays within that period that the person is applying for. Okay. There you'll see your workflow, and then very important, you'll also be able to view your team calendar. So you can see who's already on leave within your team, and then make an informed decision when you either approve or reject that leave application. Okay, so that in essence is the inbox. The widget next to that is the leave widget. So this will always display your annual leave balance. You can also have, if you've set up your company to have forfeiture rules, so a person can carry over leave and he forfeits it after 6 months, you can build in a reminder 2 months prior to that expiry date that it pops up a reminder here to tell the person to go and use the leave before it expires. If you've got any upcoming approved leave, we'll also show you a calendar icon that you can click on and sync it to your other calendars. And you'll also be able, if you're a manager, to go and set up your out of office. So while I'm away, who should be my alternative approver in the organization? Pending leave request is just anything that has been sent through that hasn't been approved yet. And once again, here you can also start setting up reminders. So reminder manager every second day or every third day until that specific application has been actioned. The Teams widget gives you a nice summary of what is happening within your team, whose birthdays are coming up, who's going on leave, and you can also view that for peer level as well. Documents and links gives the company the ability to go and upload any documentation that should be public or general knowledge. So disciplinary procedures, your leave policy, whatever you deem you'd want to upload here, you can do, and then employees will be able to access that on their portal as well. The links option there is just to redirect an employee to a third-party link. So it could be an internal vacancies, access to their funds, or whatever else you want to go and embed there as well. The payslip widget, so the longer you use the application, the more history you'll start building up. And then if you want to go and review a specific month, you can click on the month. We'll give you a quick summary of what happened. If you want to see more detail on that specific payslip, you just click on that icon, and it will give you your allowances, deductions, company contributions, fringe benefit, or anything to that effect. If you want to view your PDF paste, you can just quickly download it or email it to yourself. And then from there, you can also start going into all your historical payslips. So there's just an example. If I go to my payslip screen, I can go and gain access to all my history. So there's all my previous payslips, and I can go and select which ones I want and either download or email it to myself. Okay. Another nice feature is the ability to actually be able to compare your payslips. So this is more relevant for employees that have fluctuations in their net pay, commission earners, people that earn overtime, or it might just be somebody that wants to compare last year's bonus to this year's bonus. So you can just click on the selection area there, select the months that you want to compare to one another. Okay, submit. And there's your comparison that you can also then start exporting to other formats. The employee will also be able to download his own IRP5, so he no longer needs to ask HR to do that on his behalf. So you'll just be able to go into tax certificates or historical drill downs, click on the download button, and that will then generate his IRP5 for him. The tax drill down option is just the ability for an employee to go and see which components make up which tax codes. So if you go in to that option there, you'll see it gives you a listing of all the tax codes associated to your package, and then give you the ability to actually drill down on them. So I can see which components make up that tax code and how was I taxed on it, and also download that to an Excel format if you needed to. Then the last widget down there is just your claims widget. So employees can actually submit claims through this portal as well. In draft, just it indicates that you don't have to send through each and every claim item as an individual item. You can compile a couple of them and then send through everything simultaneously for approval purposes. In workflow is all the items that you've sent through that hasn't been approved yet, and you can then start following that up. When you click on create, that will then allow you to go and select the claim item that you're claiming for. And then based on your selection, it will give you the relevant fields that you need to go and complete for that item. So you can have attachments. These fields would be dependent on the claim item. And then you can either add line items or submit for approval from there. Then the last widget that you'll see there at the bottom is if you make use of the performance management module. As a manager, you'll have access to my team's performance. So you'll be able to have a quick overview of the average scores per performance area within your team. What's the highest scores, lowest scores, and you can also go and view the scores per subordinate, and then toggle between the different performance reviews. And that basically includes the employee self-service side of things. I'll now log into the administrative side to just show you some basic navigation there and also some processing. So you'll immediately realize that there is a bit of a user interface difference between ESS and admin. We're going to be launching the new screens for admin at the end of July, beginning of August. Then you'll have the same look and feel on admin as that you have on employee self-service. Some basic navigation here is you'll have your company and employee drop-downs. The company tab is where you would go and set up all your company parameters, and this gets used most often during the setup or implementation of your organization. And the employee tab is where you would go to actually process. So this is the drop-down that gets used most often by your administrators. This site map that you see over there is just an organogram of those two drop-downs. And the last way of actually navigating is if you navigate to a specific page, you'll have this quick links here on the left-hand side that you can also use to navigate. If I go back to my company tab over here, I click on basic company information. If I've got multiple legal entities associated to my profile, it will bring up this search criteria over here where you can search either based on company name, trading name, contact person, and so forth. And then this search value bar works on a wildcard system. So either beginning with, ending with, or containing. If you leave it as is, it will bring up all your companies associated to your profile. Or like I said, you can just actually go and search for a specific entity. So there I can see I'm currently in Sky Blue. You can have multiple pay frequencies associated to that organization. So monthly, weekly, fortnightly, multiple monthlies, depending on how many you require. navigate to the one that you want to go and review. And then if you're back on my basic company information, there's also a lot of self-help built into the system. So if you're busy on a specific field, you're not sure what to complete, you can always click on the question mark icons. That will then give you further guidance and assistance on what to go and complete there as well. The audit trail, as I mentioned, if you've got more than one administrator using the system, you'll be able to go and see the person that made a change, on what field they were working, what the old value was, the new value, the date they actually made that change, and what type of action they took. Did they delete the information, did they edit it, or did they add something new? What's new is just the way that you can actually go and see what we've done recently, so new features or enhancements that we've launched, or any legislative changes. So there's all the new features. So we launch new features basically on a weekly basis. If we go to legislative, depending on the country that you're in, so there is a UIF correction. So you'll be able to go and view the background, the change required, and the impact of that change. Back to my company parameter side. So from here, you'll be able to add new companies. You can go and review and edit your basic company information. You can also go and add pay frequencies. Like I said, if you require a bi-weekly or a weekly or another month, you can do that. You can go and edit your payslip pay dates. So on the system, it's entirely automated. So if you specify my pay date is the 25th, the system will then automatically close off your run on that specific date, send out an email to all your employee self-service users to tell them that they can go and access their payslips. But if for whatever reason you need to go and edit that date, you can. Interim runs is just the ability to go and add maybe a bonus run or a correction run. And then payslip messages is you can put a global message on the payslip once you distribute it. Payroll funds, important to note here is that we maintain all the fund rates in the back end. So anytime any one of these funds update their rates, we will then do that in the back end so that you're always on the latest and greatest, as previously said. So when going in and setting up funds, we've already populated the most commonly used funds in all the different countries. So you can go and select which one you're setting up. In this case, let's say pension. You can go and select from our list. If it's not there, we'll just add it for you and we'll start maintaining it. You can specify your effective date, your retirement funding income. You can specify whether it's a defined benefit or a hybrid fund, and then also state your employee-employer contributions percentages. That will then become part of your fund list, which you can then start associating to your employees. Your payroll component, so whenever registering or adding a new company, we'll supply you with a list of generic components. But from there, there's no limitation. You can start adding as many different components as you might require. You can add similar ones, you can edit the ones that you have, or you can delete a component if you're not going to use it at all. If you have previously used it, you'll be able to just inactivate it. If you're looking for a specific component that you can't see in the list, then you're also able to go and search for it. So you can start typing in, I'm looking for an overtime component. It will then bring up all the related overtime components, showing you the basic calculation for that component. Also, whether it's an allowance or deduction, company contribution, whether it's once-off or recurring in nature, plus the tax code. If I then select that specific component, I'll be able to edit the information. You can either use the generic component name or give it your own name that you want to reflect on the payslip. And also you can go and define the income percentages or the income base that you're going to be using for this component calculation. So you can actually go in there and go and define your variables. So let's say just use an instance of 3 variables that I'm going to be editing. So you'll be able to first tell it, go look at a percentage of income source, go look at my recurring package rate, then go use these mathematical equations over here, plus, minus, divided by, multiply by. And in this instance, I want to use a specific component. And that component should be, let's say, basic pay. And use an actual result, previous year to date, year to date, whatever you want to. And lastly, just go and add an amount. And that amount should be 150. And if that's not enough, you can also go into JavaScript. So what I wanted to illustrate here is just the fact that It doesn't matter how complex your component calculation is, we'll be able to accommodate it. Okay, underneath your payroll components, you'll also have your general ledger parameters where you can go and define your GL accounts, GL contra accounts, and then based on that as well, there's also the export files. So we've got 26 standard export files, and if the specific one that you require isn't part of the list, it's also something that we can develop. We've also done some API integrations there. We've done a seamless integration into Zero accounting as well. Leave administration, leave module is also very configurable. So you can have multiple schemes. Within your schemes, you can go and define your leave types and also your policy regarding that specific leave type. Okay, so it could be based on length of service. It could be based on grade bands. You might accumulate 1.25 days per month or 17 hours, 1 hour for every 17 hours worked. You can give the leave up front. You can prorate it. You can have it accumulative, non-accumulative. If it's non-accumulative, you can state what your forfeiture rules there. If a person is allowed to go into negative leave balances, you can also define that there. You can also go and set up your component that governs your leave liability calculation as well. So when it comes to leave, there's a lot of things that you can start doing to accommodate your specific policy in your organization. Organizational structure, so you can either have a flat structure or a more advanced structure, and you can tear it out as you might require and use it. So you can have company, region, department, cost centers, depending on what your organizational structure might look like. Also under your org structure, you'll have the ability to go and define your position management. So you can either have the basic position, just your generic details for that specific position, and also your employment equity fields. But if you start going into advanced position management, you can also start defining the skills, qualifications, outputs, competencies, and training for a specific position. So why you would do that is that allows you to go and do a gap analysis on employee level. So if you navigate to a specific employee, you'll be able to go to his position screen and actually do a comparison based on your requirements and his proficiency to see what type of fit he is for that specific position. Then there's also the training, skills, and qualification administration. So you'll be able to go and compile your training library. Once you've compiled that, you'll be able to schedule people or employees for training, and then also on employee level, record the training that they've attended and report on it. So if I go to my training record over there, I can go and update the status of the training, and then also upload maybe the certificate. If there's an expiry date associated, you can also start adding that. And then there you'll build up your training history, and you can report company-wide on that history as well. Reports. So when you go into the report section, you'll have these areas over here: payroll, HR, leave, training, costing, and legislative. Performance and workforce only if you use those modules. Under legislative, there's all your legislative reports in the correct format and populated. Employment equity is also part of that. So if you select the employment equity report, it will pre-populate for you. You've got your NP201s, 501s. Your UIF declaration file gets submitted automatically to the Department of Labor, and you'll get your log report from them. So anything from a legislative perspective, you'll be able to gain from this area over here. Under your payroll information, if you view all your reports, these are all the different payroll reports that you can go and export from the system. If it's got a green flag next to it, it just means it's a popular report. And if you're not using it, you might want to go and review it. You can also indicate your favorite ones, that it doesn't bring up this entire list every time you go into that section. Or you can actually schedule reports to be emailed to you on a specific date. Over here, you can search for a specific report that you're looking for. And then when you go into the report, you'll be able to select your criteria for this report. So you can first off state in which format you want to export it in. Do you want to email it to yourself? For which tax year are you pulling this report? And then also go and define, do you want to view in the entire organization or only a specific cost center? Do you want to view all payslip actions, or do you want to isolate certain components? Or do you actually want to go and add report fields to this report? Once you've done your selection, you can just go and click on execute over there, and that will then generate your report for you. So this is a typical example of your payroll reconciliation report. Okay, so the same goes for the other reports as well. So you can go and export them in whichever format you want there. Then on the financials, there's also the ability to go and export your salary payment file for employee payment purposes. So we've got all these standard bank files already available there that you can then just retrieve, upload to your bank, and that will then process the bulk payment of employee salaries. If it's not there, it's also something that you can set up yourself. If you navigate to your company configuration aspects, you can go and define your bank file definition utility as well. Or you can have us do that on your behalf. You can also go and configure your third-party payment configurations so that you'll have third-party payment files available. So if you pay, garnish your orders or funds on behalf of employees, that you'll have that files easily available to process those payments as well. Okay, so that's it for the company parameter side. On the employee side, like I said, where administrators spend most of their time, they'll be able to go and add new employees. If you go into this process of the year, you can either do it one by one. Like I said, we'll drive you into a specific workflow and you'll be guided through the entire process, or you can actually go and add employees in bulk. So you'll be able to download the template from the system, go and update the information required. When you do your upload as well, it will also do certain checks. So if there is no correlation between the ID number and the gender that you chose, or there's a difference between the birth date that you set and the ID number, so it will do certain triggers for you to tell you, listen, this information is not correct, just review it. And then once you've completed that, those employee records will then be created on the solution. Mock payslip. So this is a nice facility that administrators can use to go and create a mock payslip to either for a new employee to show him what his net pay would be, or if they want to test something, if I add this component to this package, what would the net result be of that? You can go and create or select from previously created ones, or create a payslip from scratch. Post bulk entries, this is where you would do your all your processing. So you can either do processing on recurring components, once-off components, or on screen. So screen would be 10 people's bank details have changed and you want to update that information. So you select the bank details, you download the template, populate, upload, and we'll bring about the changes. Your once-off components, so if you're posting to multiple components, multiple employees, you can also fetch a spreadsheet from the system, update the required information per employee, upload, and it will then post to the required components for you. Basic employee information. So if I navigate to a person's basic profile, I can see which company is associated to. I can also start building in reminders for this employee. So if I need to be reminded or somebody needs to be reminded of something, you can write the note in the title, and then also who needs to be reminded when by typing in the email addresses there. Back on his basic profile, there you'll have a summary of all these basic information. And then you can also upload an employee photo, the tax status screen. So this will show you the specific tax status for that employee. So if you select a specific one, the system will also automatically prompt you for the additional information that might be required for that specific tax status. When terminating employees, also very straightforward. You can just say for which effective run, specify your reasons, and then also go and view the person's leave balance and value and immediately encash that to the person's payslip. And just lastly, to show you the person's physical payslip. So if you navigate to your employee's payslip, you'll also be able to edit on the physical payslip. So these are typically the things that you do in bulk, but you can do it on an employee base. So if you need to go and edit, let's say this commission portion was incorrect, it should have been 3,000. You can also write in a comment, it's linked to a specific invoice, click on save, and it immediately does a recalculation. So if nothing else changes on this person's payslip, that is what will be generated at the end of the month. So there's not a lot of intervention except for your ad hoc things that you need to process on a monthly basis. So there's my change, and I can also view it then on the person's payslip. So there's a change that I made, and there's my note. And that concludes what I actually wanted to show you on the administrative side. Thank you for attending. I appreciate your time.